Member for Albany.
Yep. Mr Speaker, my grievance is with the Minister for Transport. Minister, for far too long the people of Albany and indeed residents of Esperance, Carnarvon and Monkey Mia have been forced to endure a substandard and unreliable air service provided by Rex Airlines. Let me be clear. The Nationals are not opposed to Rex Airlines or any regional carrier. We understand how critical these regulated routes are, and no one wants to see regional communities lose their air links. But what we expect is reliability, and right now Rex is simply not delivering it. This is not just a transport issue. When flights are cancelled at the last minute or services become unreliable, it is a direct and devastating consequence for health, care access, tourism, commerce and daily lives of regional Western Australians. People in my electorate are increasingly being forced to choose between hours of driving or placing their trust in an airline that no longer believe they can rely on. Since my election in March, my office has been inundated with serious complaints from constituents who cannot depend on an essential transport link. I wrote to you on the 21st of July raising these issues, and Minister, I'm disappointed that so far I've not had a response. Let me share a few of the stories that I have received. One constituent who waited more than 3 months to see a neurologist in Perth missed their appointment entirely after the Rex flight was cancelled the night before. They could not get to Perth on time, their treatment was delayed. Another constituent battling cancer must travel to Perth weekly for life-saving immunotherapy. This treatment is time sensitive. They live in constant fear that an unreliable flight will mean missing their appointment and potentially catastrophic consequences for their health. In June, around 30 residents were left stranded in Perth overnight when their evening flight was cancelled due to the aircraft was deemed unserviceable. No accommodation or support was offered. Many passengers were forced to pay for extra nights' accommodation, meals and transport out of their own pockets. This includes one couple who had travelled to Perth just the day before for a medical appointment, did not have any overnight clothes or medication with them. To make matters worse, the return flight the following day was also cancelled, leaving these passengers stranded for 2 nights, many having to resort to taking the bus home. Minister, these are not isolated incidences. My inbox is filled with similar stories from passengers in Albany, and the member for Roe and the member for Midwest have similar stories in their electorates. The occurrence is now so commonplace that there's a term for it, to say that you've been Rexed. Whether this means missing a long-awaited medical appointment, being stranded in Perth or late back to work, or left hundreds of dollars out of pocket for accommodation and alternative travel. The lack of trust in Rex Airlines has profoundly consequences for my community. In all my years of living in Albany, I cannot recall an air service ever being this unreliable. Albany is a major tourism hub for the Great Southern and a vital centre for business and industry. Yet accommodation providers are telling me they regularly face last-minute cancellations due to Rex flight failures, while visitors complain their trip is ruined before it begins thanks to poor service and frequent delays. This is not the first impression we want visitors to Albany and the Great Southern to have. Minister, you may also be aware of an incident last month where a Rex flight from Albany to Perth was forced to turn back mid-air, allegedly because of landing gear issues. Given Rex's dire financial situation, there are legitimate questions asked about whether the airline has capacity to properly maintain its fleet and ensure passenger safety. Albany is not alone. Across the state, communities are experiencing similar frustration with Rex's regulated monopoly routes. To call it a service to Monkey Mia is generous. I've heard countless stories of flights bypassing the destination altogether. One shocking incident involved a minor that was due to get off in Monkey Mia that was taken through to Carnarvon, forcing the parents to drive a 700-kilometre round trip at short notice to collect their child, with Rex offering no support or sympathy. I've also heard about international tourists who wanting to travel to Monkey Mia, instead being found themselves dumped in Carnarvon. No hire car, no accommodation and no way to get to the destination they'd travelled halfway around the world to see. In Esperance, the situation is no better. The Kalgoorlie miner recently reported in its market community scorecard, which showed widespread frustration with Rex's unreliability. One resident summed it up perfectly. Occasional cancellations are unavoidable, but changes most days with regular cancellations or delays by hours is unacceptable to a remote area of Esperance's size. There's also the matter of money. We know both the Shire of Esperance and the City of Albany are both owed north of $400,000 each by Rex Airlines. Excuse me. Minister, I have to ask, given the issues I've raised today, is Rex fulfilling its contractual obligations? And if so, what does that say about the government's tender process in the contract you've written so loosely that it allows airline to cancel, delay and strand passengers with apparent impunity? I also call on you to explain what discussions might have had with our federal colleagues. After all, Rex only continues to operate because of significant and ongoing Commonwealth financial support. The people of Albany, Esperance, Carnarvon and Monkey Mia deserve better. It's not a luxury, but an essential service for their health, their livelihoods and their communities. Under the current arrangements with Rex Airlines, they are simply not getting it.